Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. Regina Renee Cox was last seen leaving the parking lot of the United States Armed Services Recruiting Station in Somerset, Kentucky on August 23, 1997. She has never been seen or heard from again. Around 5:30 a.m. the following morning, her mother found her vehicle abandoned in the Walmart parking lot across from the recruiting station. Her car was locked, but her keys were gone. Her purse, ID, and money were all found locked inside the vehicle. Regina was 18 years old. She was born in Hamilton County, Ohio. She had joined the U.S. Navy and was scheduled to report to the Great Lakes Recruiting Training Center on September the 9th, only 2 weeks after she was last seen. Her family believes that she was taken against her will. Robbery, of course, was not the motive, as all of her belongings were still inside of her car, including her money. She was 5 feet 2 inches tall and 115 pounds, with brown hair and green eyes. She had scars on her right elbow and her right wrist, and she had pierced ears. On the day of her disappearance, she was known to be wearing a tie-dye t-shirt, blue jeans, and black sandals. Many agencies have been involved in investigating her disappearance throughout the years. She was removed from the NCIS website as someone who had just joined the Navy. I guess she was considered to be a member of the armed forces of the Navy, and her investigation into her disappearance was initially handled by the NCIS. But when they removed her from their website and they were asked why they did this, they said that her case had been turned over to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office. Now, if anyone has any information about this cold case, they can contact 606-678-5145. Goes into the recruiting station. They said she was scheduled to report to training in 2 weeks. She had only just graduated high school. She had just turned 18 years old. Regina knew exactly what she wanted to do with her life. She joined the Navy and was supposed to report to Great Lakes Naval Training Center, but she would never make that trip, and she would never get the opportunity to begin her career in the Navy. Now, on this website that I'm looking at is called Sinister Deeds. This person that writes this article mentions someone by name, and I'm going to just read this from their post. I found a man named Todd Forbes. He was a recruiter, and he had been accused of kidnapping and possibly raping at least 4 young high school girls in the surrounding area. He was on administrative leave for 6 months before Regina went missing. He was convicted and later released on a technicality. Does this mean he did it? No, but all of his victims did not know each other. They were strangers to each other, and they all provided the same information. And as the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. If he hadn't have gotten off on this technicality, he would have served his time. I think he was actually her recruiter. This Todd Forbes guy was convicted of rape and kidnapping of 4 or more high school girls who were trying to enlist in the Navy in Somerset. The area where she went missing, the Walmart parking lot, is essentially the hub of town. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that there were just so many people around there. Someone may have seen something and just didn't realize it because of so many people. It was a busy area. The recruiting station being right across the road. This person says, I feel like that her body is somewhere in Pulaski County. I believe it was put there by Naval recruiter Todd Forbes. I believe that he had been stalking her. He might have known, he might have even been speaking to her on the phone about her recruitment and maybe he possibly knew she was due to come to the recruiting station that day and waited by her car for her. He might have been standing at her car when she came back outside. Or he might have been parked in his car next to hers. The Walmart parking area was busy day and night. Someone eventually would have seen her or would have seen something. I don't think, according to what I've been able to read about this, is that anybody else was ever, I don't know if there was ever anybody else who was ever asked about her. So I did find an article about Todd Forbes and his, the information about the charges against him or the allegations against him. This is from Exoneration Registry. Todd Forbes, in February 1997, 34-year-old Todd Forbes, a U.S. Navy petty officer, first class, stationed at the Navy recruiting station in Somerset, Kentucky, was accused of rape, indecent assault, indecent language, adultery, and other violations arising from the complaint of a woman that he had assaulted her. The charges stem from allegations of a relationship with, that he allegedly had relationships with 4 high school girls who had expressed interest in enlisting in the Navy. So apparently he'd gone out to these high schools to try to recruit or to bring information to these high school students who might be interested in a career in the Navy. And this is how he met these high school girls. After his alleged misconduct was reported to the authorities, Forbes, who was married, was charged with trying to cover it up by telling some of the victims not to say anything to the investigators. At his court-martial in August 1998, Forbes did not testify. He was acquitted of 2 counts of rape and convicted of a 3rd, along with charges of sodomy, indecent assault, indecent language, and other violations. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison and was sent to Leavenworth, Kansas, to the U.S. Disciplinary Barracks. On May 11, 2004, the Navy Marine Corps of Criminal Appeals set aside the decision. So he was convicted in 1998. So 6 years later, in 2004, the Court of Appeals, the Navy Marine Corps Court of Criminal Appeals, set aside the decision. The court found that the trial judge had committed an error, and the judge granted a defense request that he did not read a jury instruction that said the defendant did not have to testify. So basically what they're saying is that 6 years after he was convicted and sent to Leavenworth, he was exonerated of these charges. He was the case against him was dismissed. Forbes remained in prison pending the prosecutor's appeal, and he was finally tried again for a second court-martial in April of 2006. At the second court-martial, the defense called the ex-husband of a woman who had claimed she had been raped, and he testified that his ex-wife had lied about this Todd Forbes having raped her. He said that she later admitted to him that she framed Forbes so that she could file a Federal Tort Act, a lawsuit. And she did, in fact, file this lawsuit, but it was dismissed. Forbes was acquitted, and at the conclusion of the trial, Forbes and his wife, who had remained with him during this entire ordeal, were called before the court and praised for their actions in fighting this case. In 2007, Forbes filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Court of Federal Claims for payback, or back pay rather. He wanted to get all of his back pay from the Navy for all the years that he sat in prison, and this case against him was eventually thrown out. He was exonerated, and so therefore he wanted to be paid for the years that he had lost. And that lawsuit was settled a year later, and he did receive $220,000 in back pay and other allowances, probably like legal fees and so on. To summarize this, Regina Renee Cox was an 18-year-old woman who vanished from Somerset, Kentucky on August 23, 1997. She was last seen leaving the parking lot of the United States Armed Services recruiting station at around 11:30 a.m. Her car was later found abandoned in the parking lot of the Walmart, with her purse and her ID and her money and everything was still inside of her car. Now, she was described as a white female with brown hair, green eyes, and she had pierced ears. The investigation into her disappearance is ongoing, with authorities still seeking answers about what happened to her. Her car was locked, and there were no signs of forced entry or struggle. Her car keys were not located. So I personally see this as she left her belongings inside her car. She willingly, or possibly, more than likely willingly, got into the car with someone else. I don't know, maybe someone forced her into their car, but it's more than likely she didn't go into Walmart because her money and her purse were still inside of her car. The only thing that wasn't inside of her car was her keys, which says to me she locked her car up, left her stuff inside, locked her car, and took her keys with the intentions of coming back sometime later that day to get her car. Regina's disappearance was linked to several other cases in the region, including the disappearance of Erica Frazier, who was also last seen in Somerset. Here's something about her from the Charlie Project. Regina Cox was last seen leaving the parking lot of the Armed Services Station in Somerset, Kentucky. Her mother discovered her vehicle in the parking lot at the Walmart at around 5:30 a.m. that next morning, when her daughter didn't come home and they couldn't reach her and no one knew where she was. They started to look for her, and they found her car in the parking lot with her purse and her ID and her money still in her purse. Her case still is unsolved. She was born July the 10th, 1979. She was 18 at the time of her disappearance. She was 5'2" and 115 pounds. If anyone has any information about her disappearance, they can contact the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department at 606-678-5145. I did read that she was later removed from them, removed as being under investigation by NCIS. Possibly because she never actually served any time in the Navy. She had been recruited. She had signed her papers to join the Navy, and she was scheduled to report to her training, but never made it there. So after so long, it was said that she was removed from the NCIS. The summer of 1997, 18-year-old Renee Cox was just beginning this new chapter in her life. Having recently graduated from high school, she was joining the Navy. Her friends and family say that she was looking forward to reporting to the Navy recruiting to her first assignment at Great Lakes Recruit Training Center in Illinois. And they didn't know of anything that was, going on. They didn't know of anything that was going on in her life that was bad at the time. Her family and friends describe her as being excited about this new chapter that she was starting into. She was going to have this career in the Navy. She was going to go off to training, whatever it was that she intended to do later on in life. And most people believe that this Todd Forbes was at the recruiting station that day, had these other cases against him where he had supposedly, or he was accused of, having had these sexual relationships or assaults of these teenage girls that he had recruited or was trying to recruit. And is it possible that she got into his car that day? They said that she would have trusted him, that he had been her recruiting officer, and she would have trusted him and possibly got in the car with him. Now, this is just speculation. Like I said, he was exonerated of the charges against him previously. If there's any information about this cold case, they can contact 606-678-5145. As this video comes to an end, I would just like to remind everybody to please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.